Hello, welcome to the Jet Hairdressing Academy Square Layer Haircut. So today we're going to be going over this layered look, which is really, it's another part of long graduation. And this is our first step though, however, into laying the head everywhere. By that I mean, previously with this head block we have done a one length haircut, and we've done natural inversion where the hair is pulled forward and just layered it around the face, whereas this haircut is going to layer it around the face and also layer it around the back of the head. Still keeps the length, it's still a long haircut, but a lot more layered, very usable. It's something it gets used in in a lot of salons quite frequently, and at different lengths is a very powerful haircut. Essentially, the whole haircut, everything really is cut the same. Once you grasp the basic principle, it's a very simple haircut, and that is that everything is brought to an imaginary square line in the air. So for instance, if I hold my comb up here in that kind of area, that's where the line lies through this haircut, always square. So if I was standing from the side of the head, any hair I bring up is going to come up to this square line, imaginary square line you've got to have in your vision. If I was standing behind the head, also there would be the same square line, but now it'd be going from left to right. So wherever I am stood around this head, everything comes up. So that means through this kind of top area of the head, the hair is more or less 90 degrees. As the hair from lower down the head, from the back of the neck, the nape, the occipital bone, that hair is actually being over-directed up to this same square line, and that's what keeps the link. So it's quite unusual in that aspect that the weight distribution changes from this haircut to 90 degrees here, and as we move around the head, over-direction is happening to bring everything up to this imaginary kind of laser beam that goes across our vision up here. So that's the basic theory of it. I think we'll get on and do the sectioning. Obviously, with all our haircuts, they're going to start with a guideline. This guideline for this haircut is actually in exactly the same place as it was for our natural inversion. Straight down the middle, a profile guideline, we should be calling that. Approximately an inch, just under an inch wide. So we'll section that off now. And much like with natural inversion, I'm going to clip each side out of the way, separate from our guideline, just so we can keep everything nice and clean, see exactly where we are, exactly where we're going. And it's just good practice to work cleanly that way as much as possible. Again, on the second side. Okay, so once you're happy and you've got that sectioned off, it's now time to cut the guideline in. Much like the forward inversion that we spoke about previously, it's quite important that we don't cut our shortest length too short. So bear that in mind before you go in. Try and plan out how short it's going to be. Now this head block has got the forward inversion haircut already cut into it that we've done previously. So we've already got a short piece here, which I know is just below Dorothy's chin. So I'm going to go a fraction shorter than that, so my layers will still be below the chin, but not quite as, just a tiny bit shorter than they were before. Now this haircut, like we said, it's called square layer, and that means everything has to be square. So there are a few things to think about when trying to achieve a square shape. First of all, it's partly to do with us. Quite often this haircut, when hair is pulled up high in the air, it's easy to relax this elbow and drop it down. But unfortunately, when this elbow drops, it pulls the hand down slightly, a little bit like with the one length. If you don't have a high elbow, it can make your arm drop. And with this haircut, it means you'll end up rounding the shape off. So the way to help your hand stay in a square position is to keep this elbow nice and high. Takes some getting used to, but if the elbow's up there, it's more likely to be square. Also, the client has a part to play in keeping the square layer square, and that's to do with their head position. So for instance, if the head's forward and we cut a square line here, like that, doesn't matter how high your elbow is, how square you're keeping it, ultimately when the head is raised back into its correct position, you won't have a square line anymore. So if the head was forward, it means the front has actually had to come further to get there, so you'll actually have a line that's getting shorter to the crown. If the head were backward, you'd have the opposite, be shorter towards the face. So you really need to keep on top of your client's head position for this one, as well as making sure your elbow. Another thing we can do is use the mirror. By looking in the mirror in a salon environment, which I'm not in, but for you, you can be looking in your mirror, checking, or it could be over here, checking that you're not pushing it left or right, or forward or backward from where I am, and also that it's not leading left or right this way. So it's really important to check that. And what we're aiming for really is each slice of this haircut that we do needs to be directly above its base. As well as me not pushing this forward or backward, it needs to be square. My hand needs to be directly above its base. By its base, I mean where the section is coming from. I don't want to push it to the left or to the right, because that's going to be building up all different lengths all over the place. So your hand needs to hover directly above the position. Your elbow needs to be square. You need to be checking your mirror, and you also need to be making sure your client's head is in the correct position. Okay, so let's move on to actually cutting the guideline. Okay, so like I mentioned, I'm going to go slightly shorter than the shortest bit I already have in this haircut. So I'm going to be bringing this up nice and square here. Just going to try and move my body out of the way a little bit so you can see a nice clear white background behind my hand rather. You can see my shortest stuff here from my previous haircut. I've got a nice high elbow. I'm going to cut my line in just there. We need to move along a little bit. It's important that we try not to cut ourselves. Don't cut too far along your fingers. And continue there. Okay. Now, we put that initial cut in. We can just check our length like we planned. A little bit longer than the chin. That's about right for what we want to do today. And now we're going to carry on this line all the way through to the back of the head. So again, check your mirror, keep that elbow up nice and square, and work to that same length as you already have. Notice I'm trying to keep my tension on as well. I'm not dropping the hair down and cutting here like this. Keep my elbow up and keeping the tension on. If you keep the tension on, you'll get a cleaner line through this haircut, whereas relaxing tension, cutting, sometimes having tension, relaxing tension, gives you, if any of you are having problems with fuzzy lines through your haircut, this can come from these uneven tensions. So it's important to try and keep it on if you can with this haircut. Again, so this is where it gets a little bit interesting, this haircut, because like I mentioned at the beginning, this is pretty much 90 degrees to the head where we are now. But now I'm working round to this crown area. This hair's been over-directed up to this square laser beam that we've got in our vision here. So that's where the length is being kept. Not as much as forward inversion when we pulled it forward, but still this hair's having to travel much further to keep that length. So that's how this haircut works. It's to do with this over-direction. From the front of the crown, I guess, it begins all the way down to the hairline. That's where the over-direction does its work. So again, I'll just move myself across a touch. Bring this up nice and square, nice high elbow, check your mirror, check our client's head position, take the hair off, again don't relax that tension. And carry this on now, all the way down the back of the head. Okay, pulling this up, nice high elbow. elbow here. Check yourself in the mirror if you've got one. Now what you're probably going to find happens if you've been cutting your head blocks at similar lengths to me is that the length is going to probably fall away when we start to do the lower back portion. If you see it, it's happening already before I even get there. So let's comb this section again and I'll show you what I mean. So I'm picking everything up, and as I try and lift all this hair up to the position we want, see a piece fell there because it doesn't reach my fingers, another piece is going to fall, you see it's dying to go there, these bits all up here that don't quite reach, right up to here even, these things aren't reaching my fingers. That's the length being kept, so don't panic if that happens, it's supposed to happen. That's the length being kept for these haircuts. A nice high elbow, and hopefully it should be square. Once we've done that, this haircut actually has two guidelines, so what I'm going to do now is split this guideline straight through the middle with a profile parting, and then we're going to put in our second guideline. Just making sure this is nice and clean through the nape. Sometimes these blocks can be a bit tougher than people to section, so you just need to take your time. Although depending on the quality of your head block, you know, some are not always as clean as you might find in person. But it's looking okay now. I'm going to now section off a second guideline. So we've already discussed before with this haircut about it having this profile guide. So profile, just to recap, the intersection which goes from the forehead straight through all the way to the nape. This is going to have a radial guide through it as well. Now radial is a section which goes from ear to ear, the opposite way to a profile. So if a profile is a Mohican, if you like, this is like a sideways Mohican. Again, it's going to be, we're not just doing a parting, we're doing a section, so it's going to be approximately an inch wide, and that's going to be our second guideline. My advice is to section 1/2 at a time. Don't try and section off a whole radial parting for this haircut. Just do the right hand side first of all, bring it up, cut it square, then the left hand side, bring it up, cut it square. So I'm just going to section that off now. Positioning wise, I guess the front line is pretty much sort of top of the ear, around about here, and the back line of this guideline is kind of more behind the ear, just about an inch or so from the other. Again, we're going to get in this habit of clipping these sections away to keep everything nice and clean while we work. Here you can see our radial guideline, which goes from the middle of the head to just on top of, just behind the ear. This is where the second guideline, the first half of the second guideline is going to go. I'm going to stand behind my head. I'm going to bring this hair straight up to the same imaginary line. Remember, this line in our vision never moves, it's always there. Head position is very important again, making sure she's not leaning to the left or right, forward or backward, and again checking yourself in the mirror, nice high elbow, looking for the short piece from the guide we've just cut through the centre. Once you see that short piece, that's the length you're going to cut. Keep this elbow up in the air nice and high, check your mirror, head position, etc. Cut the line in and carry on out towards the hairline. Just got a couple of little flyaways that escaped me here. Just going to add in, nice high elbow, don't get lazy. Okay, so this is the first half of our radial guideline. Now we're going to move to the second half of the head. You do it over there too. Don't forget, just behind, just on top of the ear, that's about where you want to be putting this. Okay, now we've completed both these guidelines. It's obviously important that we check them to make sure they're balanced before we carry on. If these two guidelines are different, we end up with two different sides of the haircut. So it's a good idea to check this before we move on. So best way I can tell you to check this is to, again, use your mirror. Grab a piece from each side of the head and bring it up, and you'll be checking in your mirror just to make sure the lengths that you've got are the same. Obviously make sure you're not pulling them left to right, forward or backward, because that will make it feel wrong if perhaps it might actually be right. So just take your time to do this, make sure you're happy, which I think I am, and then we'll move on to the main bulk of the haircut. So what we're going to do now is follow the same process we have already. We cut a guideline and we separated it straight down the middle. So this guideline is going to get the same treatment. So what we're essentially doing is splitting the head into 4 quarters with a profile parting from the forehead right to the nape, followed by radial parting from ear to ear, straight through the middle of the guide we just cut, and straight through the middle of the first guideline. So let's do that now. Okay, so our guidelines are in, our head is split into 4 quarters with a profile parting and a radial parting, much like you would with a tint, for instance, if you're going to do a root tint, an all-over tint. We're going to start on one of these back quarters. Now, what's happened now with these partings we put in this haircut is that each quarter of this head is actually split. There's a perimeter of guideline around each quarter, so it means there's lots of guideline, and hopefully you won't be able to get lost. So we're going to start on one of the back quarters, it doesn't matter which. I like the right one, that works for me. We're going to use something on this haircut called pivoting sections. Pivoting sections really just mean they all come from the same place, so we've got a cross now guideline with this profile parting and this radial parting. That means there's a cross. The centre of the cross is this central point, and that's where all the sections at the back are going to come from. So our first section, if we just go to the close-up camera now, is going to be from the top of the cross to just behind the ear a little bit. So it's actually slightly triangular. If I twist these up, I'll be able to demonstrate what's happening here. Our second section is going to come from the same point in the middle of this cross, and it's going to be slightly further around the head. So it's a bit like an hour hand ticking around the clock. So if that first section was sort of 3 or 4 o'clock, then this one would be 5 o'clock, still coming from the original position. Again, I'm going to try and twist this as well so you hopefully see it a bit clearer. This process is going to carry on all the way round until you get to the middle. Again, coming from the same spot. Now we're at 5 o'clock, perhaps. So, you know, some people like to think of these as pizza slices, orange segments, you know, depending on however you want to look at it, however you remember it. It's just important that they all come from the same position. So I've just done 4 there, so if I tighten these up then, again, you should be able to see what's going on the other camera. So here we have 4 pivoted pizza slices which are all radiating from this one central point in the top of the head here. So that's how we're going to do it. It's probably going to be 3 or 4 sections, I would imagine, depending on hair thickness, etc. But let's begin. So first one, like I said, top of head to just behind the ear. Now as far as where we're pulling this goes, nothing's changed. You know, there's still this same imaginary laser line, whatever you want to call it, in your vision. That's where each section needs to be elevated to keep that length. And we're just going to follow the guide that we should have lovely and visible in our vision. Nice high elbow, check your client's head position, use your mirror, and you should be fine. First section completed. Now, it's quite an important habit to get into with this haircut. As well as taking our next pivoted section, we also need to take a little bit of the hair we've just cut. So what I mean is I'm going to take a section from the middle point, slightly further round. Probably these sections are probably about 2/3 of an inch in thickness, I would say. Once you've taken this new slice, I'm just going to use a clip to keep this hair cleanly out of the way. Once you've taken this new slice, we then need to halve the previous section, or at least take some of the previous section, just so that we've got some guideline to work with. So the guideline is following you around this haircut, so it's quite important that we work on nice clean slices of hair. And we need some guidelines, so you need to halve that previous section just to get some. Now don't forget, some length might fall away on this, so don't freak out. It's supposed to happen, that's the length being kept. Again, I'm bringing this up to that same imaginary line. A little knot from Dorothy there. So again, check your mirror, elbow up, client's head position, find your guideline, and away you go. Second section completed. So again, push that second section out of the way. Now we're going to take the third and release this uncut hair here. Take another pivoted section from the middle of that cross, slightly further around the head. Keep out of the way of this hair, we're not cutting yet. And don't forget, halve previous sections. You've definitely got a nice chunk guideline to work with. And away the previously cut hair we don't need. And again, we're going to bring this pivoted section up nice and high, using mirror, the elbow is up, client's head position, leg cut. Here, carry on towards the nape. This piece of hair falling, that's the leg. No panicking, it's good. I'm not cutting the hair off. Again, push this hair out of the way that we don't need anymore. Take a new section. It's probably a bit big, this piece of hair, for my final section, so I might just halve it. Come back to the second part in a moment. Then half the previous section again. Make sure we've got some guideline, nice clean slices, orange segments, whatever you want to call them. Bring this up nice and high. Don't forget, directly above its base, use that mirror, make sure we're not pushing forward or backwards, left or right. You know, it needs to be directly above its base, it needs to be coming up vertical, straight up the head. Guideline, keep the elbow line. Best to keep it all nice and clean so you know exactly where you've been, where you're going. Make sure that elbow comes up nice and high. And that's pretty much going to bring us on to our last section of this side of the back. I'm going to release that hair that we haven't cut yet. I'm going to halve the section I've just done. Be our last pivoted section, 4 pizza slice. Now don't forget, I've got guideline through this middle section here, so don't be surprised if, like me, there was nothing to come off. We've worked from one guideline, radial guideline, round to the profile guideline, so you may find there's a few strands to come off here, you may find there's absolutely nothing, depending on what's going on your headlock. So again, nothing's come off because I've met my second guide. So that's it, that's 1/4 of the back done. Second quarter of the back's going to be done in the same fashion. However, before we move on, we also need to cross-check this, to make sure we're accurate. So, with most layering haircuts, I think you're probably going to find if you've used vertical sections like we have, we've used pivoted vertical sections going down the head this way, then you'll need to check it with horizontal sections. The opposite to what you've used is use your tense cross-check. If you'd done a haircut, like some sort of graduated bob for instance, where you'd used horizontal sections, you would check that by taking vertical sections through it and checking the balance. So we'll do that now. We're going to take a horizontal section first of all, about a third down the back of the head, straight across from one of our partings to the other. We're going to bring it up nice and high up here, and we're hopefully going to find a nice straight square line. If there's any little bits of dust, you may want to take it off, but if there's any large pieces which you find, then go back to your pivoting section and fix it properly. Cross-checking is for checking, it's not really for fixing. You use the cross-checking to find any errors, and you go back to your technique to correct them. You shouldn't just be chopping them off during the cross-checking. A little bit of dust, fine. Mistakes, no. Again, we're going to bring this up, just move down up now a couple of inches below my first check. Now I'm carrying that on just down the head, elbow up, bring it up nice and high. Say anything you want to do. If you want to refine it slightly, you can, but hopefully you'll have a nice straight square line. This probably won't reach, but you can go up and have a look, but I know that doesn't reach on my headlock. So that's it. 1/4 of the back cut, checked, and ready to move on to the second side. So start in the middle here. You can clip out of the way the hair. I'm not cutting at the moment. I'm going to bring up this nice clean section. All the way up again. Nice high elbow. Check your mirror, check the client's head position. Carry on. Clear away the hair we haven't cut yet. And then take some previously cut hair. So you've got your guide. Comb the already cut hair out of the way. Comb this new slice upwards. So don't get lazy. Now your elbow, your arm might start to ache at the moment. But you know, it's all in the name of a good cause. Keep it up. Don't forget checking your mirror and your head position. Looking for that guide. Keep the tension on. The tension's here, up here. Not let it relax. Work down the head for the rest of this slice or segment. Oh, this section now I think it's a bit wide to do in one probably. Just pop it in there, just keep it out of the way. Then taking some more previously cut hair again. Your mirror, elbow up, head position, all these things like a drill, you know, keep it in your head. Keep it in your head, you should be in good shape. Start to get sloppy and lazy. Talking about what you watched on television last night, that's when accidents happen, so keep focused. My last section is probably going to be guideline like it was before. So I'm just going to take some of the previously cut hair. And my final section. Brought upwards. Just predicted that to come off through here. maybe just a tiny bit of dust in this corner. Okay, so second side of the back finished. Just need to cross check it, much like we did before. We're going to take horizontal section straight across our back quarter, and we're going to bring it up nice and high, checking our balance. If there's any some molten hair with more like this, there's any little bits of dust, they can come off, but make sure we fix any big problems with the correct technique. So again, just moving my horizontal section down here a little lower. Make sure when you're checking this as well that you do keep that elbow up as well, and everything's in the same place. Okay, so just taking out next cross-checking section, slightly lower down here, still straight across. Bring it up, make sure that when you do cross-check this that you keep your elbow up still, nice and high. Checking for any large bits of hair which we haven't got, a few molting bits of hair on this block. And again, probably know that this length won't reach, but it's just worth having a quick look, just in case. All going on there. Good stuff. The back of this haircut is completed. However, there's still room to check this a little bit more. Yes, we've checked every individual back quarter here, but have we checked to see that they match? No. So that's what we're going to do next. Okay. So what we're going to do here is much like we did with when we first put those radial guidelines in. If you remember, we just brought two pieces up and head like that. That's what we're going to do now. That's going to tell us if these two sides match, which hopefully they do. Bring two bits up, use your mirror and check. I haven't got one, but they feel pretty good to me. You can take bits from different levels on this haircut. You haven't got to take them the same. But ultimately, when this haircut's done, any two pieces, either from the front or the back, opposite diagonal, wherever, as long as you put them up square, you should meet the same point. Back done, time for the sides. Okay, so before I move on to these sides, I'm just going to clip my nicely cut back out of the way, so I don't get confused or bring any of it into anywhere else it shouldn't be. So I'm just going to pop a clip, my little twisted ponytail at the back here, just to keep it out of my way. Now I'm going to release one of my front sections, in this case my right. Up to you, do the left first if you prefer. Now this is going to be cut in a slightly different sectioning pattern, whereas through the back we use pivoting sections. Through this side it's going to just use more radial sections or vertical sections, however you want to look at it. So our sections aren't going to swing round the head like a minute hand anymore, or an hour hand of the clock. They're just going to be vertical, so they're just going to work straight forwards, moving steps along through the head like that. So my first section would be somewhere like here, just a slice straight down. My second section would be slightly further forward, again just a section straight down, so on until you run out of hair. Same process though, we're going to need to take a section, half section, take a section, half section, just like before, to make sure that we've definitely got plenty of guidelines to be working with. So let's start with this first slice here. Bring this up, nice, high, just like before, nothing's changed. Checking the mirror, making sure I'm not pushing off body. It's quite easy when you do these side sections from the back, because if you're at the back there's a tendency to pull them towards yourself, which means they might get longer. Don't forget it needs to be directly above its own base, so just check that before you cut. Don't forget, use the mirror, check their position, Look at my elbow, lovely and high. Just moving up your waist slightly. There's my guideline, I can't miss it. Off comes the new hair. Okay, second section. So don't forget, before we take my second section on this side, I'm just going to halve the one I've just done. Here, I'm going to cut this previously cut hair out of the way. And I'm going to take my next section. Not too thick, you know, about ½ an inch I suppose these slices are being at the moment. And again, this is going to come directly upwards. Nice high elbow. Don't put it forward or back, it needs to be directly above its own base, following the guideline. Here. Second section completed. So I'm going to halve it, so I've got some guideline. I'm going to clip previously cut hair out of the way. And then I'm going to take my next section, just slightly further forward again. Same process. It's coming upwards, straight off the head. Looking at that guideline. Nice high elbow. Just a piece escaped through there, so I'm going to come back for it real quick. See, these hairlines are a bit odd on a headlock, so you get like sometimes a strange lonely piece down by the bottom of the ear there, but which gives you a bit of a strange void in the middle here, but that won't happen necessarily on people. It'll happen more on these blocks. So that's it, real simple. That's one of the sides done. Obviously the other side's going to be exactly the same. The way to cross-check this is the same as you cross-check the back. We'd use vertical sections again through here. So the opposite of vertical section, horizontal section, that's how we're going to check this again. Just going to take a section, cross it here, and bring it up nice and high. Hopefully you can get up here. You know, you'll have a nice, again, clean line which we've got. Again, it's worthwhile to take another section or two below, just to make sure that it's definitely in good condition, this haircut. Just a tiny bit of dust there perhaps. I'll add this last piece in first just to check. Notice as well, I'm trying my best to keep my elbow nice and high whilst I check this as well. A bit of vaulting happening from this block. Yeah, it's in good shape. So, square, done. Now it's time for the second side, which can be exactly the same process. First section completed. Okay, so that's it. that side finished, obviously just need to cross-check it. Just like we did with the back, you might want to bring 2 pieces from each side upwards here, and just cross-check it, make sure it feels, you've got good balance through here. If you're happy, then great, and also, there'll be no harm in unclipping the back, and also, checking diagonal area, a piece from the front and a piece from the back. So obviously it's all coming to the same place, so it should match, So it's worth, just bringing this up and checking it and just seeing that you're happy. I am. So it's time to blow dry. Okay, so now we're going to blow dry the square layer. I've already put a little bit of mousse through the hair. For this demonstration for the haircut, just so you can see the haircut in its purest form, I'm just going to blow dry it very gently with a paddle brush, just so it's sort of smooth and tucked under. I'm not going to do anything that detracts from the actual shape of the haircut, and that way you'll get to see the haircut doing what it does on its own. But if you look on the app, we've also got another blow dry on there called Big and Bouncy, which is this same head block been blow dried in a different way to give it more height and volume, whereas this is going to be it in its purest form. So essentially I'm just going to go through it in panels and blow dry it straight and under with my paddle brush, and then we'll come back and have a look and see how she's looking. Okay, so that's the blow dry done, and that's the basic shape in this haircut now. As you can see, in comparison to natural inversion, it's a lot more layered around the face, a lot more layers through the side and through the back, whereas before we didn't really have any. So it's quite a different shape, but still very, very commercial, very usable one. At the moment, looking at this, to me it's still perhaps a bit heavy through this, mainly through this side of the layering. So just quickly, while we're here, I thought I'd go over some ideas just to sort of soften the lines and take a small amount of weight out from this haircut. So what I'm going to do is just work through this with horizontal sections, working down the head, and just soften it very slightly. So we're going to take a horizontal section across the top here first of all, and then I'm going to elevate this up, find my square line, and then I'm going to soften it. So what I'm really being careful of is that my scissor blade is going straight down the hair shaft. The more I angle it aggressively, the more I'm going to take out from the hair. So I'm looking just to soften the lines. I'm not trying to add texture. If I wanted to add texture, I could really change my angle, make it a lot stronger technique. But for today, I'm really just looking to soften the lines. So I'm pretty much keeping my scissor blade parallel with the strands of hair. Once I'm happy with this strip, I'm going to keep it in my hand and then section another horizontal slice below, pick that one up, and then I can let go of the one above, and then again repeat the same process. So again, bring it up high so I can find my square line, and I'm just going to soften these lines. Now it's important when you do this sort of thing that we are methodical. It's not just something you should just randomly pick up hair and attack the head. You've got to know where you've been, and you've got to know where you're going, and that's the most important thing. And work on, for instance, this area until you're happy, then move on to another area, work on that till you're happy. Don't do a bit at the front, then a bit at the back, a bit at the front. You've got to stick to where you're working, and in that way hopefully you can carry on and know where you've been and just generally do a better job. So that's me pretty much gone through this side now, so you may need to give it a bit of a comb or a brush through to lose some of the hair that might be built up in there now, but you can see in this straight away that's had quite a significant difference. I haven't taken any length, I've just softened the shape, so I'm probably just going to repeat that now on the other side also. So again, I'm on the other side now. I'm just going to take the same horizontal sections through here, bringing them up square to locate my hard line, which I want to soften. There it is, can't miss it. And now I'm just going to go into this hair, break up that line very softly. Not looking to chew the haircut to death. I'm probably going to do one more below this as well. Again, already in quite a short space of time, and with some little work, that has made quite a big difference. So again, I'm just going to repeat this just a little bit around the crown and down the back. It still looks a little heavy there to me, and then we should be looking good. Okay, so I'm at the back of the head now. Same process. We're going to take horizontal section across the crown first of all. Again, bring it up high. Locate that hard line that I want to soften, and then again keeping my scissors a nice non-evasive kind of angle. Just work down the back. So this is a very personal thing to the hairdresser and to the client. You've just got to look at each haircut individually and see if and what it needs. There are other ways to texturize and soften and lighten and etc. But we'll get to different ways, you know, as we move on to different videos through the app. But for this haircut, this model, this is all it really needs. Okay, so I'm looking at the shape of this now, moving the hair around, and yeah, I think I'm happy with how that's falling. And if we now look at our model from the front, you know, you can see it's really light at this side area there. Obviously there's still scope, you could soften this fringe area more, you know, make it a touch shorter if you wanted. But for me, you know, I'm going to keep her pretty much as is for now, and we'll move on to another haircut on this same hair block next time. So that's it. Square layer, Jet Hairdressing Academy.